Whoa! All right, I'm going to start a timer so I know what I'm doing. Thank you. My name is Kevin Halligan. I am an artist living in Los Angeles. Um, I'm multidisciplinary, so it really depends on the project. Sometimes it's painting, sometimes it's sculpture, sometimes it's writing. I did a collaborative writing project during COVID, actually, where I got a bunch of strangers to anonymously contribute to a document to create a narrative story. And then at the end of that time frame, I locked the document and I edited it into a story and sent it back to all of them, which was fun. And I'm looking forward to doing that in more forms as well. But it really depends on my mood. So it also really depends on my space. This is my studio. I'd love to do this interview as a studio tour. This is my studio, and it's also my bedroom because Los Angeles is expensive. So here I am. I have materials stashed everywhere. There's like paint and saws and stuff down there. There's, I don't know if you can see it, there's a bunch of blank canvases that aren't stretched. I don't really like stretching my canvases. Like the ones you see around my house, they're just, they're not stretched, they're just nailed up, which I prefer for my own work at least. All of my work is really based in exploration and experience, I guess. So I very rarely have a set plan. I very rarely make a diagram with measurements. It's really only if I'm doing an installation that's more structural that I'll do that, because it needs to be safe and it needs to not fall down. But usually it's in the moment. Usually it leaves some kind of factor up to chance. So you're going to see a lot of these kind of line drawing paintings in the background. That's really where my headspace has been the past few months. It's not something I did much before 2020. I guess I did my first one in 2019. Here's like the demo for that. And then I made bigger versions that are here. But these are really, I get in a headspace, I need to create something. I feel very restricted sometimes by making physical things. So I'll take whatever colors of paints I have around that I'm feeling connected to at the moment. I'll lay out one of my canvases and I pick a single brush and I just keep going. I draw a line until I feel the line is done. It might not even have paint on the brush anymore, or it might be totally saturated, but until that line is done, I keep going, and then I dip the brush again and I start where I stopped and keep going until I feel like whatever I needed to get out is out. Does that make sense? So those are my current paintings. That's where I am right now. I was doing a bunch of glass sculptures a while back. I don't know if you can tell through the video, but they are also kind of, they leave a lot of chance because I break the glass. I don't know how it's going to break. I use what I have to put it together into an image, and they're very sharp. Ooh, I have another one of those out here. I'm going to take you on a tour of my apartment. How much time do I have left? Okay, planning. Here's my apartment. I'm in the process of moving, so it's a little sparse. Here's another one of the glass projects. It's a feather. So yeah, I prefer to have an element of chance in my work because it feels like I'm connecting to the materials in a different way. It feels like I'm working with them instead of um, working at them. I don't know how else to say that. Um, but it feels like they inform the design quite a bit, and that's how I enjoy exploring. This is a very COVID piece. I made this in March when I was still feeling locked up. Um, in the first few weeks when he felt really cagey. Um, I was feeling some feels. So this is natural earth pigment, like a watercolor kind of pigment that I mixed with gum arabic, and I sprinkled it all over. I wrote a poem, a COVID poem, and I put the date at the top because it was my birthday in March. Um, and then I sprinkled it with a bunch of natural earth pigments, and I got my whole body wet, and I laid down and I made like a snow angel in it. Um, I feel like that day I went a little COVID crazy, but I love it. I got up. I intended for it to be very colorful and bright as a contrast, but then I got up from making the snow angel and it looks like violent. And I realized that's how I was feeling. Like it's not what I set out to create, but as soon as I got up and looked at it, I was like, oh, that's what's in here right now. Um, so the materials, if you leave them up to chance, often have a way of showing you things that you don't know you don't know you were feeling. I've done a lot of sectioned paintings. I enjoy putting that natural space in between them. It kind of it gives them a presence for me, because these are all separate panels. I don't want to knock it down. What else? Studio tour. There are materials hidden everywhere in this apartment. I think I have like 300 to 400 pounds of glass panes. I have a bunch under my desk. I have a bunch behind my hamper. I have lumber under my bed and in my closet, which is also a closet for clothes. So forgive me, but yeah, lumber, um, lumber, tools. I never know what form my creativity is going to take, so I become a bit of a hoarder with materials, because who knows? One day I might want to break some glass. One day I might want to paint. One day I want to make a wood sculpture or solder some stuff together. I have a big roll of leather somewhere. Some days I want to make a leather product. What? I feel like there was something I wanted to talk about. Oh, lights. These are an adaptation of that Broken Glass series. Let's see, you can probably see them better if I unplug them. Yeah, so just light boxes. I've really enjoyed having these up in my room, although I would love to show them in a gallery. COVID kind of put a kink in that. Just pre-COVID, I got to a fairly finishing point on a series that I had been working on for a year, which I don't know if you can. They're clear, so they're hard to see. But oh, I have construction next to my house. That's fun. Whoop. Can you tell what that is? It's panes of glass with resin and alcohol ink in between them. And it's a series of, it's a process of mixing the alcohol ink with the resin and leaving that up to chance, and then as it's drying, repositioning weights on top of the glass to kind of push it around, push the bubbles in the color so it ends up looking to me like a galaxy. So I probably have like 30 of those right now. Light. Here's a little one. This bin is full of those. Oh, and what made me feel like I was done with the project is I didn't set out. I set it out as an experiment. I did one and it was cool, and then I did another one and I liked it. And I just kept going. Sorry for the noise. So what made me feel like I was actually done with the series was when I made 4 of these 6-foot-tall versions. And as soon as I was done with those, I didn't really feel like I needed to make any more. In the future, I probably will, but right now I feel like that part of me is satiated. They're heavy. These are about 50 pounds, maybe a little more.
10 minutes?
Yes, 10 minutes. 10 minutes means I can ask questions, or I can ask you to ask questions. 1 second, so I can not drop these, not break things, come back. I've been looking forward to this part. I've been looking forward to hearing your questions and answering them. It feels more natural to me. So, does anyone have questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
When you were, I'm Anisha. Nice to meet you, Kevin.
Hi, Anisha. Nice to meet you.
Very interesting. When you're doing the series like that series of the 4 panels, and it was the black painting, do you work on one thing and then separate it, or yes, that one behind you? Yeah. Did you do that as one piece and then separate it, or did you do them as separate pieces that piece together?
It depends on what I think the finished product's going to be, because these are panels. So I had to have the extra stuff that wrapped around. I stretched that canvas over the frames, and then I clamped the frames together, and I painted on that. And this is painted, I don't know if you can see the hand marks, but this is painted all by, most of my stuff is painted by hand, other than the lines, they're painted with brushes. But this one's actually charcoal.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so I did a series of little tile projects. They're like 2-inch tiles that I clamped together, and I did line paintings on those, and then I separate them out in different ways on the wall.
Nice.
But if it's a loose canvas, then I'll paint the whole thing and then I'll cut it up.
Oh, okay. All right.
I was going to ask you about the glass, your glass pieces. They seem, you know, when you have your hand and your body and everything is kind of soft, and then suddenly you have this very harsh glass. Is the content very different? And when you're, I mean, you didn't really, I mean, you talk about chance, but you didn't really talk about what the content is for you for those glass pieces. I think they're really interesting. So especially the, you know, but anyway, I guess I want to hear what you say about that. Okay.
Correct me if I'm misunderstanding your question, but yes, materials very much influence the design or how I end up working on a project. With the glass, I do get cut up a little bit, so I am a little rough with it. But for these types of glass projects, they take a lot more forethought. They take a lot more patience, because each of those pieces has to be attached and held while it cures. it needs to be much more thought out. And while this is clearly still, it has a flow to it, and I could make that up, I had to have the design ahead of time. While with these projects, not so much. It's more of a field of glass. So it was layers of different smaller shards. So they would stick up at different angles. So layers of shards and layers of resin. I'm not sure if I answered your question.
I think
Thank
so.
you.
I think maybe it's more formal, sort of a chance formal, that you're going to. I mean, that's what I'm getting.
Even if I design something and make measurements, etc., there's always an element of chance to it. Whether it's an installation that's affected by airflow or an installation that's affected by shifts in natural light. I have a project coming up next year that has plexi panels that are set up, and it's very designed specifically for where I'm positioning the panels, but as the light changes, as the weather changes, as all of that interacts with the material, the experience of the project is different at every moment.
Bye.
Have a good day.